The ANC in the Northwest has temporarily suspended its former chairperson, Supra Mahumapelo. He's accused of misconduct and sowing division within the party during campaigns for municipal by-elections. He's also said to have encouraged a member affected by the step-aside rule not to do so. Political analyst Asanda Ngoasheng joins me to discuss this matter. Asanda, very good morning to you. So he has been asked to leave, Priscilla Diko, Cyril Ramaphosa's right-hand woman, has been asked to leave. Supra has been temporarily suspended. What are we seeing here? Are we seeing the cleaning out of the corrupt, cleaning out of the opposition, or a bit of both?
I think it's a bit of both. I think that, Cyril Ramaphosa has announced the election date, and it's possible that what they're trying to do is show voters from now that they are serious about corruption, because obviously the ANC is worried about this election and getting the kind of votes that they need in this election. You must remember that the ANC has basically lost quite a lot of municipalities in the last election, and they wouldn't want to repeat that. And of course, the ANC is a huge machine that requires as much possible places of patronage as possible. So the more votes, the more seats, the more places where they can have influence, and the more places to simply be able to get money from, if we're being honest. And so it's not surprising that various names are coming up, various names are being removed. If you think about who is part of RET, if you think about, the links between Supra and Ace Magashule, it shouldn't be surprising. And I wouldn't be surprised if the person being referred to that he said don't step aside to is Ace Magashule, because everybody knows that once Ace Magashule is gone, everybody else that is equally corrupt or is known to be corrupt like him is going to be removed. And so I'm sure that Supra knew that if Ace Magashule is gone, then he's going to be next in line, because he's facing similar allegations during his tenure or his reign, essentially, because these guys do behave like kings in the Northwest.
All right. In the last week, Ramaphosa got the ANC High Command in KZN to support him. I guess this has emboldened him to take this sort of action.
Yeah, we know that coming out of the last ANC conference that Ramaphosa didn't quite have the numbers that he needed to have. The ANC was almost split down the middle until, that sort of last-minute dribble by David Mabuza. And so it's going to be very important for him to keep bringing into the fold those people who were not necessarily 100% behind him. And I think that potentially what he's telling people is that we are going to be left with no ANC with which to be able to do anything with. And I think that maybe it's becoming clearer to the ANC potentially that ultimately they're going to have to act on corruption, even if it's at a surface level, and ultimately that they're going to have to show voters some sign that they are still worth voting for, and some sign that they are still worth giving confidence via the vote too, because we know that, the ANC has been losing votes and has been losing support each and every election, right down to sitting at 57% at the last election. And so that's pretty close to the 50% that's required. And they've seen, particularly in local government, how they can be hamstrung from governance through, some political maneuvering by the EFF using its kingmaker status. And I'm sure they want to make sure that this time they win things outright, that they're not having to negotiate with the EFF, with the DA, or with whoever else is going to, dilute their vote in terms of them not getting just a pure, simple 50% and above.
Okay, so Cyril Ramaphosa has stamped the election date. We now know when it's going to happen. At the same time, Zuma's lawyer has stepped aside. Zuma is obviously a contributing factor to the outcome of the elections in one way or another. Why has he stepped aside? Is it true that Zuma doesn't have enough money? What sort of game is being played here?
I would think that any lawyer worth their salt would be able to look around and see that the power that Jacob Zuma used to have is no longer there. And I'm sure that any negotiation to get him to remove himself would be quite an easy thing to do, because lawyers, like most professionals, do particularly need state business in order for them to, be able to gain some money and be able to participate in big cases. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a negotiation with him, and that's why he stepped down. I don't believe that Jacob Zuma doesn't have any money. I mean, we know from the bank accounts that his wife that's currently divorcing him has been pulling out, that he has more money than he claims to have. We know that his son is literally one of the wealthiest people in South Africa through the corruption that Jacob Zuma and the Guptas were pushing and funneling through him. And we know that, that I'm talking about designing in this case, but we know that Edward himself and many other family members of the Zuma family that we haven't even begun to unpack their unearned wealth are all sitting on quite a bit of money. So I don't think he's short of money. I don't think he's short of friends with money. But I think that, there are some political decisions taking place. There are some strategic decisions taking place, because you must remember that politics is about the fight for scarce resources. And right now, those resources are about to get even more scarce if the ANC loses the local government election. And of course, the ANC knows, having lost Tshwane, having lost Johannesburg.
We're going to have to jump in there and end it. Thank you very much for talking to us.